All right, so we are going to dive in. I've been getting to know different people on the call, and it looks like we have a lot of people that are in the OLL major or they are majoring in organizational development. But a lot of things that I'm hearing is that you all are going to be in positions where you may have to, where you may see conflict, you may have to help resolve or mediate some of the conflict. And you may yourself run into some conflict. So we are going to dive in and talk through um, a little bit about conflict. But before we begin, I have asked people to come off camera, and I want us to begin with just having a little scavenger hunt. So turn your cameras on because we need to see what you can provide. So hopefully, if you are not driving and you're at a place where you can just run and grab the first thing that comes to that you see. Hopefully, it's something right there in your area. But I want you all to find an object that is, drum roll, red. Who can find and show an object that is in their area that is red?
Oh, do you want us to type it out?
No, just show it. Just show it with your camera. I see Jane has a
coffee pod.
Oh, good. Jane has something. I see David has, it's like a red pen. Oh, I see Chandler has something. Jose has something. Yeah, I was thinking this is U of L. We got to go with red, right? So, something that's red. Jason is showing something. Lisa, I'm seeing something. Do you have that?
It's a notebook when I initially started the program.
Yeah.
I found it accidentally. So I put it on my desk.
Nice. See? All right. So now I want you all to find something that you can write with. Any color, just something, an object. Oops, sorry. An object that you can write with. Let's see. I see Jane has a pen, Lisa, PA has a pen, David has a pen. We all are showing things that we can write with. Jose is showing a pen. Chandler has, is that a pencil?
No, this is a pen.
Oh, okay. Pens, pens. All right. So Miss Lisa PI has something. Okay, great. So now here is the third one. I want you all to find something that describes how you feel about conflict. How do you feel about conflict? So this we have to come and get a little creative. What is something that is near you that can describe or be a metaphor to what you think about when it comes to conflict?
Here's my tape dispenser.
You're a tape dispenser. Okay, nice.
Took it out of the room.
Okay, I see a tape dispenser. Jose, is that a calculator? All right.
I think certain risks needs to be very calculated. You just can't dive into certain risks. Some should be avoided. Other ones, you need a little extra help.
Nice, nice. So who had the tape dispenser? Was it Lisa?
Yeah, me.
Okay, Lisa, tell us, what does the tape dispenser, how does that?
What it represents is I want to stomp out the conflict that takes place in the workplace.
Oh, nice, nice.
But I want to do it with style.
You want to do it with style. Nice, I love it.
Thank you.
Who else has one? Let's see, I'm trying to see everybody's picture, the photos. Okay, Jane, I see a lemon.
Yes, a lemon, which is sour, and often you make a face when you eat the lemons, which is how I feel about conflict. I do not enjoy conflict. I try to avoid it at all costs.
All right, Jane, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure you are not alone who gets the taste and who feels sour and who does not really enjoy conflict. All right, anything else anybody has to share?
I have this little silver ring and it's meant to look like a dove. And the reason why I like this is because it kind of symbolizes peace and love to me. And to me, it makes me think about compromise and trying to just find resolution in the conflicts you encounter.
Nice, nice. So when it comes to conflict for you, you're saying you see the peaceful side of it, you see the love side of it. Nice, that's interesting. Okay, so we are going to dive into conflict. Um, how many of us is it? It's saying 10. I'm going to put us into breakout rooms. So here is a little activity. You all have just been given $100, and we're going to pretend this is a post-COVID event. And you want to decide within your teams how you are going to spend the money. So I'm going to put you all in teams of 3. And as you can see, here are the different costs associated with different things. And I want you all to decide and come up with what will be the best activity for you all, the best way to plan this event, and how will you spend your $100 budget. So are there welcome back, welcome back. Looks like room 3 is back. So how did it go?
It went good.
It went good?
We have ourselves quite a party.
Yay. I can't wait to hear about this party. Let's see. We still have a few still in the rooms. Here comes room 1 is joining us now. Welcome back, room 1. How'd it go?
It went pretty well. We actually didn't have any conflict. Decided we were able to decide on every item, really.
Good, good. Yeah. All right, looks like room 3 is back now. All right, so welcome back, everybody. So I first want to hear from Jane. Jane, you were in room 3.
3.
Okay,
yes.
So Jane, tell us about your party. Y'all having this heck of a party, she was saying.
So we were balling on a budget, so we had to make some cuts. My first suggestion for cuts was the extras. I was kind of thinking for weddings, like, oh, if you're struggling, maybe you don't give out party favors. But then Lisa said, that was one of the things she really liked to keep. So we're like, okay, we'll come back to it. We'll figure out what else we need first. So we all decided at the very beginning, yes to a live band. I feel like no matter what party you go to, if you have good music, everything else maybe doesn't matter as much because you want to be out on the dance floor dancing. So we decided on the live band. And then for the venue, we decided to do the backyard. We don't know what Betty's backyard looks like, but we figured, we can make anything pretty nice. We got the live band. And then for food, we decided on the buffet.
On the buffet.
Which left us with $95. So we figured for the $5 extra, we'd go to the dollar store and get our own party favors. And then it's BYOB. So everyone can bring their own coolers of drinks.
I love it. I love it. So you all even found a way to get a little bit of those extras in there. Nice. Thank you for sharing that, so room 3. So as you all were going through and deciding what to purchase and how to use that big whopping budget of $100, well, was there any type of disagreements or I want this, but I want this, anything like that to come up for you all?
Well, I think, like I said in the beginning, Lisa had wanted the extra party favors, and something that I wanted, but it was definitely going to put us over budget, was the water, soft drinks, and alcohol. But then we did not have enough budget for that. So we kind of had to think, okay, what are the most important things for this party? And we almost cut the venue, but then we figured, okay, we don't have a venue, where are we going to have this party? So we thought we got to have a venue. But no, there wasn't too much conflict. We figured it out pretty quickly.
Okay, good. All right, so let's see, room number 2, Miss Ann, Jason, and the Lisa PA. So how did your group go?
Elisa, I think
Jason, you want to report?
I think
Sorry, you're
Lisa, you're
muted.
trying. Yeah, you're muted. I still.
Go ahead,
think there's
Jason.
some- Well, anyways, I don't have it written down, so Lisa, if you wanna share what we picked. But
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the patience. Okay, what we all agree about is Betty's backyard. She has a lovely backyard. So it's full of flowers and trees. And then for the food, we decided we wanted the buffets because everyone likes to eat, quite a bit and enjoy it. And the drinks, we decided to have water for $10.
Okay.
And then the music, we had the DJ, but with the party favors, what we decide to do, that way we encompass everything. Instead of 25, we just made those $20. So everybody has a little something to take with them.
Okay. So you all negotiated the cost of the party favors and got them for a little bit cheaper. Nice. So as you were going through and having your conversations, any disagreements or any conflict? Well, really just any disagreements. Anything come up for you?
I don't think, not so much. Maybe we were just trying to figure out where to allocate our funds. But we were in agreement of what we valued the most.
Yeah.
Food.
Y'all value food, and so y'all all kind of agreed that the buffet was the best way to appease most people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Okay. And that leaves us with room number 1, Ms. Anika, David, and Jose. How did you all do?
Do you want me to take it, Jose?
Oh, Jose needs to be muted too.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I'll take it, and if you have anything, David and Jose, you can jump in and add. We didn't really have any major conflicts. Similar to groups 2 and 3, we prioritized food and then also the venue. We decided to go with the buffet. That's just easy. Everyone can find something, having a buffet. And then we also went with Becky's backyard because we figured not have a casual party. Hopefully it takes place outside sometime in the summer, not right now, obviously. And then we decided to go with the DJ to leave enough room for the drinks, which we picked our water, soft drinks, and alcohol. And we decided the biggest cut that we did in the at the beginning was the extras. We didn't really feel like we needed some extras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And so even though you all didn't have any disagreements, were there any differences of opinion?
I'd say not really. Jose, David?
Yeah.
Jose and Derek?
I'm sorry, I was muted. I think maybe not necessarily a difference, but a missing piece of the whole equation here was what kind of event was it? So I think if we had that piece there, similar like conflict, we don't have all the information. Some information is left out. If we would have known, maybe if it was a wedding, maybe our opinion would have changed.
Yeah.
Their version of a wedding might be different than mine. So, but no, I think we functioned pretty well there.
Good. All right. So I'm glad to see that you all were able to find ways to use the $100 and have this fabulous event. And it's like you all found some common ground and found ways that everybody could kind of get what they want and enjoy the event. So that's great. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. Can you all see the PowerPoint? Okay, there we go. So now we can see. All right, so I wanted you all to get a chance to get into your groups, talk through, and see just what came up for you all. And And it sounds like you all were able to go through and have these conversations without necessarily having any conflict. And so when we talk about conflict, what is conflict? So we went through and there were differences of opinion. Some wanted water, some wanted the no water BYOB. Some people wanted, some things are more important to others. So what's conflict? How do we know that we were able to solve all these things without conflict? What would you all say is conflict?
I would say conflict is a disagreement, difference of opinion, disagreeing on what might be the most important thing, or just having, different opinions on something.
Yeah, having those different opinions. Okay, great. What else? What else can be conflict?
I wanted to add maybe whenever those differing opinions come to a head and, there are outright, I guess, not necessarily violence, but, I guess harsh words exchanged or tension in the air, that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So when it comes with conflict, it is basically what you all are saying. We come into a disagreement where somebody is really perceiving that something of importance to them, their needs, their concerns is not being met. And so when that happens, we can have conflict. And so when was the last time you all experienced a conflict? Who'd like to share that? When was the last time you all had a disagreement or felt like your needs or something like that was felt like there was a threat to you or your needs? Anybody have a conflict they like to share? Okay, Jason.
Yeah, the last thing that just pops in my head first, I guess, is a couple years ago. I work in retail at the moment. I work over at this Target over here in Southern Indiana, and I had a coworker that I shared a department with, and there was essentially she was talking trash about me because I wasn't zoning how she wanted to, but I was zoning to the book, like how
Yeah,
we are supposed to.
yeah.
And yeah, so it kind of went on like that, and it just made kind of work unfun. And it did get resolved, but I'll leave that for now, since you just asked what it was. Kind of.
Thank you, thank you. And I can tell you that is exactly what conflict can be. Usually you have these feelings. It's usually linked to some emotion. And so you have, and I think that's what Jose was getting to when he said that if it was a little bit more context. So if you all could have an emotional connection to something, you may be a little bit more likely to have some conflict during that last scenario. But it seemed like there was nothing emotional attached to it. And so I could definitely see, I think it was Miss Ann who was saying that she's going through with a wedding with her daughter, and they're probably having some disagreements around how to budget the money, how to have the best event during a pandemic, or I guess, or beyond a pandemic. But usually there's going to be a disagreement, and the more emotionally attached to it you are, the more heated that conflict can be. And now sometimes that conflict, so the fact that we have conflict or the fact that we have a disagreement is not a bad thing. It makes us human. So there's going to be times where we are going to naturally disagree. Somebody wants extra favors and somebody thinks extra favors, oh, that's just extra. We don't need that. And so it's natural to have a disagreement. And so you become into the conflict when usually that disagreement is evoked, is attached to some emotion, and you start to perceive something like your needs aren't being met or your wishes aren't being heard or a value isn't being honored. And that's when you start to have some emotional or some negative conflict. And so today I want to share with you 5 different styles of how people resolve conflict. And one is we avoid it. We avoid it. So Jane showed us earlier her picture of a lemon, and she said, I don't like conflict. I avoid it at all costs. And so Jane, I want you to know that you are not alone. A lot of people will avoid conflict. A lot of people do not like conflict and they want to avoid it at all costs. And so, so we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Some people like to compete. Hey, you want to come the conflict? They like bring it on. Let's compete. I'm not concerned with having a conflict. Some people even enjoy conflict. They feel like that makes it more fun or more spicy or more enjoyable. But some people really don't run away from conflict. They actually kind of look for it, and sometimes they may even spark some conflict. And then the third one is compromise. So compromise is just like that. You find a way that some things are, if you can't satisfy everything, you try to satisfy the majority. So you compromise. And then accommodate is sometimes we give. Accommodate is more about we're happy when the other people are happy. So depending on the situation, we may accommodate, and that could be how we satisfy a conflict resolution. And then the fifth one is collaborate. So we try to find a way that everybody wins. And so that is collaborate. And so just to break it down a little bit more, when it comes to avoiding, this is the one that has the lowest amount of aggression, the lowest amount of assertiveness. And when we avoid conflict, this is when we either ignore the situation, we avoid the situation, and there's some good, there's some bad with each of the 5 profiles. And so when it comes with avoiding, it is best to avoid the conflict when it is insignificant. So it's almost like when they say, choose your battles. So if I said, oh, I love, this is a pink pen. And so if pink is my favorite color and I wanted to write in pink because it's just so pretty to me, and I can make little pretty pink flowers on my paper, and it's gonna make my whole paper light up, and it's gonna just put me in a really good mood, and I really, 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 really wanna write with that pink pen. But then Jay comes in and she says, I want the pink pen. So now Jay has the pink pen, and now I have no pen, or I just don't have a pink pen. I may have now a blue pen. And so Jane says, I really like the pink pen. It reminds me of my 3-month-old baby. It's so near and dear to me. I really have to have this pink pen. And so for me, even though I like the pink pen, this battle in and of itself may be insignificant, because if I still write with the blue pen, I still get the task done, right? And so avoiding a battle, I could try to bring that battle head on and compete with Jane and talk about why I should have the pink pen. But in this case, the battle is insignificant for me. I'm not emotionally attached, although it's my favorite color, but I'm not as emotionally attached to the pen. I can still write with blue and get things done. So when the battle, or when the conflict, I guess, is what we call insignificant, meaning that it doesn't matter so much to you, that could be a time where you avoid the conflict. But you've got to be careful when you choose to avoid conflict, because the issue never gets addressed. And when the issue never gets addressed, it never gets resolved. And if it never gets resolved, what do you think is going to happen the next time I see Jane at Betty's backyard and she's writing with this pink pen?
It festers.
Huh?
It festers.
Exactly. And so when I see Jane and she's writing, with this, pink pen in the backyard, I'm looking at that pink pen and I'm thinking some thoughts, right? I want that pink pen. And so I just want to caution you. A lot of times we avoid conflict, and it's okay to avoid the conflict when it is significant. If it is significant, we should not avoid the conflict, because when we do avoid it and it really is significant, it doesn't go away. It just lingers. And then it's going to show up in weird places like at Betty's backyard. So now Jane and I are having this huge conflict over a pink pen that happened months ago in a training class, right? So for those of you who are in human resources, if you when you get out to the workplace, if you get into employee relations, I promise you, you are going to be mediating a lot of conflict around things where people just try to avoid the conflict. And then they have this passive aggressive attitude or behaviors, and it just festers and it festers and it festers. And then it goes into compete. It goes into this next one. And so compete is another way in which we go through conflict. And so this is one that is the most aggressive. It is the most assertive. I'm taking a firm stance and I am going to refuse this time. I'm not listening to Jane. I want that pink pen. It's my turn now. She had it for the last time. Now it's my turn to have this pink pen. I want the pink pen. So now I am competing for this pen. I am demanding, standing up, that it's my turn. I deserve to have and write with this pink pen. I like pink too. And so when it comes to compete, this is when we are saying we're ready for it. We're not backing down to any type of conflict. We are going for it. We feel like it is my time to stand up for me. I've got to fight. If I don't fight for me, who will? And so this is a time where I am needing and wanting to stand up and to compete with that. And so the con is that others may disagree and it can lead to unhealthy conflict. So the unhealthy conflict could lead to Jane and I in front of this beautiful wedding are now talking about a pink pen. Right? Totally nothing to do with the wedding, but now we're having all of this unhealthy conflict over a pink pen. And so I want you to realize that there are times when you should definitely compete. If it is a safety decision and somebody is listening to headphones in a manufacturing environment when they are on a forklift, something like that, that can be very dangerous. You're not able to see your surroundings. That right there can be a time where you may have to stand up and say, no, you cannot do that. That is a time we may have to compete and just really stand up for a quick decision has to be made. So compete does definitely have its advantages. Sometimes leaders, they have to make a decision. The pandemic hit. We got to social distance. You have to wear masks if you're in public. You have to do all these things. Sometimes the leaders may have to take a stand and say, this is what it is, and this is how we're going to run the business. And so sometimes you have to just get in the compete mode. But I want you all to know when to choose that battle, when to choose that style, because the con to that is a lot of people disagree with wearing masks. A lot of people disagree with social distancing. A lot of people disagree with COVID and the pandemic and how it should be handled. And so I just want you all to know that when you go into the compete style, that this is time where you can most definitely have others that will disagree and that it could lead to that unhealthy conflict. So just be prepared. Again, I think there is definitely times where you should go into compete, but I want you to know and recognize, is this the best time to go into compete? And so if it's not a compete time, then some people will go into compromise. And so if I said to Jane, how about if you use the pen for the first 2 hours and I use the pen for the second 2 hours? Something like that. Now Jane and I are compromising. We're both getting a chance to use the pink pen. We both love it. And so this is being somewhat assertive, somewhat aggressive. Now, when it comes to compromising, the parties were still somewhat pleased. We both got to use the pen a little bit. The thing with compromising is that there's still a part of us that is still a little bit dissatisfied. And so I'm happy when it's my turn, but when I pass the pen over to Jane and now she gets to use it, I got my frowny face on again. I'm bitter. So when it comes with compromise, and just keep that in mind that sometimes we're still unhappy. And when we are unhappy, it can lead us to go back into avoid. Now I'm gonna avoid Jane because I don't want to see her writing with that pink pen because it makes me feel a certain way. Or if I'm really upset about it, I may compete with Jane. Jane, give me the pen. I want the pen. I need the pen. I gotta write this. I just need this right now. And so just keep that in mind that when it comes to compromising, that the good thing is that, hey, sometimes we get what we want, but the con to it is that if we don't get everything that we want, that passive aggressive can come out and we can later fall to another style, usually a avoid or a compete style. So I know due to time, I'm kind of going through this a little quicker. Are there any questions so far about those three?
Sometimes with some of the people, like if they don't want to compromise or something like similar to that, sometimes they take it as a personal attack.
Exactly, they do. They see it as a personal attack, and they have that feeling of um, if I can't get everything, then I don't have anything. And they take it personally. Yes, sometimes people do take it personally. And so you want to be able to find a way. We're going to talk about two other styles, but we can try to help minimize that. But yes, you're exactly right. And if they are taking it personally, then they're probably going to go to this avoid or that compete sometime soon. Good thought,
Good.
Miss Lisa.
Thank
Any other thoughts or concerns?
I wanted to ask if you have any advice for when it's time to go into that aggressive mode and compete, like any sort of principles you should apply.
Yes, I would say when it is significant to you. And so as we've been talking about, the conflict. We've been talking about Betty's backyard and things like that. And Jose, I think he said that we didn't really have the context around it. And so I think when it is significant enough for you that you're like, I've got to fight for me or I've got to fight for this, then I would suggest you go into a compete. And here, so if you're standing up for your morals, if you are preventing a dangerous decision from being made, is sometimes it has to be a quick decision. This is definitely a time where you may have to go into a compete mode. So yes, there are times where you have to compete for you, because again, you could be. We're going to talk about another one in just a moment, but just oops, sorry, kind of showed y'all some secrets. But if you are avoiding the battles, so let's say that you always avoid, your natural style is just to avoid. If you're always avoiding, you're going to come to a point where you're going to feel like, I've got to fight. I'm sorry, where am I? I've got to fight for myself. So that is natural. It's natural to go from avoid to a compete. It's natural to go from some of the other ones to a compete. And so you're going to see that in just a few moments. All right, any other thoughts? Okay, so we talked about compromise. Now, the next one is accommodate. So accommodate is now we are putting the needs of others before our own. And so I want you to know that this is not a compromise. In a compromise, we both are getting something, but we both are not getting something as well. When it comes to accommodate, I am saying, Jane, I know you like this pen. I want you to have this pen. I know how much it means to you. I know that you did say your 3-month-old was a girl, right?
Yes, she is.
Okay, great. So I know the significance of having your first baby, and she's just 3 months old. And I know that pink, you could have done her whole room and her whole nursery and everything is in pink. And I know how important that is to you. And so for me, I'm happy knowing that you are happy in writing this pink pen. So I'm going to accommodate and give Jane this pink pen. So accommodate is when we're basically giving in and giving the other person what it is that they want, but it's not so much that we're giving it into them to where we're unhappy. We're giving it into them because it makes us happy to see them being happy. So that's the thing with accommodate. We are wanting them to be happy, so we feel happy. So every time I see Jane, I see her writing to her little baby, those sweet messages in this pink pen, I get a sense of accomplishment and empathy and compassion for Jane, because I know that I was the one that gave her this pink pen. I accommodated, I gave that to her, and I'm happy to do that. Does that make sense?
Mm. Thank you
Okay,
for the
now,
pink pen, Danita.
I had on my desk, so I've just been going with it. So now the con to accommodate is that when we are accommodating, that if we're always giving to other people, and when we feel like they don't give to us, we spiral down into avoid or compete. So back when Jason said, when should I go into a compete mode? Sometimes if I'm always giving to others, I'm gonna go into a compete mode. I'm gonna fight for myself. You know what? It's time for me to have this pink pen. It's time for me to do this. You may see that in the workplace. I saw this a lot of times in the workplace. In the workplace, if one employee is always helping another employee out, oh, I'm gonna do this for you. I'm gonna make sure that that your workstation is set up, especially if they kind of share workstations. I'm going to make sure your workstation is set up. I'm going to make sure that you have everything, that all the pens and papers are right where they should be. But when you don't leave the workstation like that, for me, what happens? They may avoid it, but then eventually they're going to go into a compete style where they're going to demand, you need to leave those pens and papers and leave the workstation exactly how I left it for you. And so that is the con when it comes to accommodating. So accommodating, initially, we are very happy to do it, but we have to be careful, because the more we give to others, the more we're going to expect them to give to us. And when they don't, we can immediately go into another compete. Usually we could go into avoid. I'm going to avoid this person, and that happens all the time in the workplace. Or when this person walks by, I'm going to give them a mean look and things like that. So that happens all the time in the workplace, and it's usually because of the way that we have been going about the conflict. So if we had just handled the conflict up front, then we could be in different situations. And so the last one is collaborate. So this one is where we find a solution that works for everybody. And really, there is no con. It's just a win-win for everybody. Everybody walks away happy. And so when it comes to collaborating, you find a way to find. So with collaborating, the difference is I'm no longer feeling any type of negative emotion. I'm walking away, I'm happy. So whatever we did, we both walked away. In our pink pen example, we broke it in half. We found a way to get 2 pink pens, something like that, to where we both walk away and we're both able to have the pink pen, or both find a solution that works for everybody. And so that's the goal when it comes to conflict. You want to find a way that everybody can win. And so here are the 5 different levels, the 5 different styles. And I have this arrow going from left to right, and it also goes from right to left, because this is what happens when we are throughout the day when we're having these different thoughts. And so the 2 on the left, avoid or compete, this is what we call when we are surviving. So if you are thinking of way back, our survival instincts was to fight or flight. You all remember that? Fight or flight? That's exactly what avoid and compete is. So fight, we're going to fight for ourselves. We're going to compete for ourselves. Avoid is flight. We do nothing. And so we kind of fly away and hope that it goes away. And so these are our survival instincts to handling life, to handling our thoughts, to handling conflict. Naturally, we either going to fight it, or we're going to fly away from it, compete or avoid. So I want you to think about, in your situations when things are happening, it's okay for you to go into avoid or to go into a compete mode. That's natural. And so I want you to think about, how do I go into a thrive mode? And so we know survive is avoid or compete, but to really thrive when you're conflict, you want to be able to find ways that you can collaborate. it can potentially accommodate, and this is how you can start thriving throughout those. Jason, I think I saw your hand.
Yeah, I wanted to say I really like the fact that you have it labeled in the Survive to Thrive categories, because I remember I just posted a little blurb about IUS's chapter Breakfast Series, and we had a speaker a couple months back that was talking about negotiation, and he was saying a lot of people think of things in terms of like only one person being able to win, right? They only
Yeah.
normally think of things in the survive categories, right? Or at best compromise. But he said that real value creation and thriving, I suppose you can say, comes from when you're able to use creative solutions and create value for everyone involved. So no, really,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Oh, I
no
like
one's getting a
that.
sour individual. Yeah.
That ties in really well with what this slide is saying. So I like that. Thanks for sharing that, Jason. But
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what it is. When you are thriving, when you are really being able to resolve the conflict, you're walking away, you're happy, the person is walking away, they're happy. And this is truly the way that you all you want to get to. And just keep in mind that if you don't typically fall into the thrive categories, that it is okay. The first step is just being more aware of it. And so I want you to know that naturally, we were born with these instincts to fight or flight, so compete or avoid. So if you notice people that are doing that, or if you yourself do it, just know that it's natural and that it's okay. And then by just thinking through it, you can get yourself to start being able to thrive. I love compromise in the middle because, and notice it's not bolded, because compromise is just kind of right there. Some parts of you are happy, some parts are not happy. And then depending on what you do with that can determine if you're going to thrive or if you're going to survive. And so I want you all to think about what can I do to get into a thrive mode. But if you're already in a avoid mode, then maybe the next best thing to do is just get to compromise. So I don't want you to try to jump from avoid all the way to collaborate. That may be too big of a step. But if you can avoid and get to compromise where you can find a way to kind of get right there in the middle, and then from compromise, then work your way up to collaborate, that just means it just may be a little bit more of a realistic way to go about how to handle the conflict. But I want you all to know that you want to decide based on what's happening, what is the best thing to do. And so sometimes the best thing to do is to avoid it. Again, you don't have to collaborate on everything. Sometimes it's good to avoid the pink pen. Jane, it's yours. You know, sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's good to compete. Sometimes we got to say, yeah, I need to fight for myself. So if you are in survive, I don't want you to see that as a negative thing. I only want you to see it as negative as if it becomes unhealthy. So if you're having the time where you're always in an unhealthy conflict, then yeah, there may be some things that we can do to get you out of that. But surviving is, there's, again, we've looked at the advantages to those as well. So I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, I just did a compete. I'm a bad person. No, you're not. You're normal. If you have a conflict that you realize that you're always in compete mode, you're always fighting for you, then you may realize that maybe you may want to learn about how you can shift more into a thrive mode or how you can start compromising. But just be more aware of your style, what you do naturally, and then deciding where you want to go and how you want to do that. And so how to get to other areas, how to go through those other areas of conflict is really just focusing in on the problem and the solution, not the individuals. I think Jason said, how do we keep people from taking it personally? You're right. People will take things personally, but do not focus in on the individual. Focus in on what is the problem and what will be the best way to solve it. And sometimes it is avoiding it or competing with it. Sometimes those are the best. So I want you to think about which one will be the best way in that particular situation. And then, of course, establish those guidelines, communicate. So maybe if I communicated to Jane just how much how important the pink pen is for me, maybe she accommodate and let me have it, right? Because her daughter may like yellow or gray, who knows? So just communicate, because the more we communicate, the more we can let our needs be heard, and find ways that we can collaborate, or find ways that we can compromise, or find ways that we can accommodate. So, but we can't do that if we don't know. So I always tell people, hope is not a strategy. So a lot of times we avoid it and we hope it's going to go away. It doesn't. So hope is not a strategy. You have to communicate and you have to talk, and you want to do so in a way that can be in a non-competitive manner. And so you want to acknowledge the needs of the people and empathize when you can. So I can very much empathize with Jane and understand that she may want to use the pink pen. I can see that. I use pink for my daughter too. And so just empathize when you can and find ways that you all can work together. Apologize when necessary. So notice we say when necessary. Sometimes it's not necessary, but if it is necessary, if you yourself made an error, a mistake, apologize. It's okay. We all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. So don't feel bad if you feel like an apology is necessary. That's fine. But if you feel like the apology is not necessary, don't apologize. But you can still acknowledge the situation and empathize with the other person. So apologize when you think is necessary, and then listen without interrupting, and truly try to see it from the other person's point of view. So don't think that when one of the things, the cons to compete is that we get stuck in, it's just my way and I'm the only one that's right. And so just try to listen and understand, because sometimes we're wrong. Sometimes there's other ways that we can do things, or sometimes we can learn. So we may not have known that, but oh, that's a really great idea. Maybe I should start listening and incorporating that into the policy or procedure. So these are the conflict resolution tips. These are the different styles. And so I'm just going to stop here and see if there are any questions.
Danita, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say thank you. This was super helpful, and I took a couple pictures of the slides as you were putting them up.
Oh, great. And I'll send the slides over to Jose, and he can email them out to you all. That's fine.
Wonderful. Thank you. This is really informative.
Good.
Yeah, thank you very much, Danita. I really appreciated the presentation. And I wanted to say, I like what you said before about how different scenarios call for different approaches, because with that problem I brought up earlier, right? I was thinking about it. And at first, I realized I had to take a step back because she was angry and I was kind of upset too. So I used avoid maybe for a little bit. And if I did run into her, I was just friendly. And then after that, I tried to think about where to go from there. And I realized the big conflict was because we were always working on the same department, but we were never there at the same time. So we didn't get to talk about what each wanted for it. And so, like, if I caught her at the beginning of her shift or at the end of mine, I just talked for a minute, like, be like, is this working for you? How do you normally do this? Because she'd been there longer than I did. So she had her own style of doing things. And I think we were able to make it to where it was just a more healthy work environment, trying to work together on that. So
Good. So Jason, you just gave us a really good example of how you was in compete, she was in compete. You then went to avoid until it was a good time to start talking. And then you all started talking. You started finding ways that you really could kind of, I don't know, almost like collaborate, find ways that you all could both find a solution to make it work. And it ended up being a really good workplaces from what I'm getting. And that's exactly what this is saying, is that you may go back and forth. The little slide, this one that has the arrows, it's okay to slide between these different styles. And at one point, avoid sounded like it was the best one. Just let me avoid it, let the emotions cool down, let me be able to think about it logically. And then you were able to get up into some of these the thriving styles. So that is Perfect. That's exactly what I think you all would want to do when it comes to resolving conflict. And I think that's exactly what you all want to be able to see in others so you can help mediate conflict as well. Because definitely in human resources, you're going to have workplace conflict that you may be asked to mediate. Good. What other thoughts or comments?
This is Anne here. I love the survive and thrive way of looking at this, and especially the thrive part. The takeaway for me is that you make a conscious decision about if you're going to not collaborate, because collaborate gets to a win-win, you know,
Yes.
and that really does help you thrive when you make this a conscious decision.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so really what all of these are, they are decisions. We decided, I'm going to use Jason's example. Jason initially wasn't compete. He decided to avoid it until he was ready. And then he decided he wanted to come over here and do one of these. And so they are all thoughts. They're all our conscious decisions. So I would echo that and just say that all of us have the power to be in the thrive mode when it comes to conflict resolution. It's just one recognizing, hey, I need to get into a thrive mode, and then seeing what all you can do to get there. And so I love that sometimes you may have to survive this this conflict by avoiding it, or maybe even competing with it to get to the thrive mode. So, so these are just ways of thinking is what I call it, just how we thinking, how we processing this conflict. But I will definitely recommend only don't go into one of these survival modes and stay there. I think that's what happens is sometimes we go into survive mode and we stay there. So if we avoid and we always avoid, nothing gets accomplished that way. We have to go into some of those thrive modes. If we're always ready to fight everything, then we get looked at as a complainer. Somebody is always fighting something. And again, it doesn't go well. So we have to get from always surviving to finding ways that we can thrive.